I recently did a video about Kit Carson as a part of a series of videos I have done about mountain men. Mr. Carson lived a long life as mountain men go and accomplished much after his time in the mountains trapping beaver. Also, his life is much more historically documented than are most of his counterparts that live the mountain man life. The mountain man era only lasted around 20 years, roughly from 1820 to 1840. Most mountain men began that career at young ages, late teens and early 20s. The ones who were lucky enough to survive the dangerous life of a beaver trapper, many weren't, and lucky enough to live a relatively long life afterwards, many didn't, were indeed blessed. Kit Carson was one of those who did. There were a couple of comments from viewers regarding the Kit Carson video that I took to heart. One commenter said that I left a lot out of his life story, and he is correct. I try to keep my videos in the 8 to 10 minute range for busy people and short attention spans. It is somewhat difficult to keep viewers engaged for long periods of time. At least it is for me. Another commenter requested that I do a video about a Kit Carson-led army incursion against Comanche Indians in the panhandle of Texas called the Battle of Adobe Walls. I did some research and decided his idea had merit. So following is a brief summary of that historical event. In 1843, William Bent established a trading post and saloon in the Texas Panhandle on the Canadian River 17 miles northeast of present-day Stinnett, Texas, in Hutchinson County. He named the trading post Adobe Walls because it was constructed using adobe bricks. By 1864, the post had long since been abandoned, as Bent had moved his trading operations to a much larger and very successful business along the Santa Fe Trail in Colorado called Bent's Old Fort. In 1864, General James Carleton, commander of the Military District of New Mexico, made the decision to send a military force under the command of famed soldier and mountain man Kit Carson to the area of Adobe Walls along the Santa Fe Trail. The mission of the expedition was to punish Comanche and Kiowa Indians for attacking wagon trains along the trail. White settlers in the area petitioned the army for protection, as Indian attacks on the Great Plains were on the increase. The Indians considered the wagon trains and settlers to be trespassers who killed buffalo and other game they needed for survival. Carson was chosen to lead the expedition as he was the most seasoned Indian fighter in the army at that time. His orders were to proceed against the Comanche and Kiowas at their winter campgrounds in the Palo Duro Canyon area of the southern panhandle. The expedition began on November 10, 1864, from Fort Bascom with a force of 335 regular troops and 72 Ute and Apache scouts. Also included were 2 mountain howitzers and 27 wagons with 45 days of rations. On November 24th, the force reached Mule Springs in Moore County, about 30 miles west of Adobe Walls. The scouts reported they had found a large village of Kiowas near the old abandoned Adobe Walls fort. Carson, along with 265 cavalry and the scouts and howitzers, marched all night and on the morning of November 25th attacked the Kiowa village. The Kiowas fled but alerted Comanche villages in the area of the attack they had suffered. Meanwhile, Carson led his troops to Adobe Walls 4 miles away and dug in using the abandoned ruins as breastworks for his defensive position. He soon learned that there were numerous Comanche villages in the area, with forces in much larger numbers than he had expected. The mixed forces of Comanches, Kiowas, and Apaches mounted several assaults against the army forces. Lieutenant George Pettus, who commanded the howitzers, later wrote the most detailed report of the battle. In his report, he wrote of the attacking warriors, quote, "mounted and covered with paint and feathers, charging backwards and forwards, their bodies thrown over the sides of their horses at a full run, shooting occasionally under their horses." End quote. Carson's effective use of the twin howitzers was key in his success in repelling the relentless attacks. By the afternoon, realizing that he was low on howitzer shells and ammunition in general, the army leader ordered his troops to retreat to the Kiowa village where his supply train had been left. The weary army rested on the 26th and then began a retreat to New Mexico. The army declared the Battle of Adobe Walls as a victory, which is a bit of a stretch. The Comanche and Kiowa were left in firm control of the Texas Panhandle for 8 more years, until the Battle of the North Fork 8 years later. Most historians give Carson high marks for his command decisions during the battle. Given the fact that the army forces were dramatically outnumbered, his decision to retreat probably saved him and his troops a similar fate to Custer's at the Little Bighorn. His clever use of the howitzers, as well as his use of backfires to counter fires that his enemy had set to block his retreat from Adobe Walls, were sound military decisions. The number of Indians in the battle has been estimated as high as 3,000, but most experts believe that number to be greatly exaggerated and would more accurately be around 1,300. The number of deaths and wounded in the battle is not excessive due to the long-range nature of the fighting that occurred. The army suffered 6 dead and 25 wounded, and the estimate for the Indian combatants is approximately 60 dead and wounded. The Battle of Adobe Walls was the last time the Comanche and Kiowa forced American troops to retreat from the battlefield. Although the army claimed victory, most historians agree that in reality the Indians won and are most often credited with a decisive victory. If you enjoyed the video, give a thumbs up, make a comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching.